this is John, and welcome to Radio Hunt Tube Radio Restorations channel. Today we're going to be continuing on the Philco Model 70. Most of the video is going to be encompassed around the cabinet work, but we are going to do just a little bit of work on the speaker and do a couple little things to the chassis. And I don't know how much of that I'm going to film, but I'll probably film a little bit of that just so you can kind of see what I'm doing on the side, trying to get this ready, because we ran into a little bit of problem when we was doing the IT-12. We were using the Philco Model 70 as a test subject, and it still has issues with the volume control, which I have not fixed yet, and it had a bad short in the speaker. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to get that fixed. And like I said, I don't know how much of that I'll film, but I will have a lot of film on the cabinet work that we're going to be doing. So I hope you enjoyed today. It's going to be fun. You're going to see a little bit of progress on that cabinet. And maybe on the next video, if I can get all this cabinet work done on this video, maybe the next video, we might even be able to do a little bit of stripping on that cabinet. And you kind of see how I go about doing that. And I'm kind of looking for, if not, it won't be on the next video, it'll be on the one after that. We'll be definitely doing stripping on that one. I might need 2 more videos to get the cabinet work as far as the veneer, all the patches done. But if I can do it in one, I'm going to try to do it in one. It might be a little longer video because of that, if I do that. All right. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be trying to fix this plug. We had a real bad short inside this plug, and we're going to try to cut this part and get this thing rebuilt and going back into this speaker. I'm going to inspect the inside of the speaker, make sure I don't have any shorts inside there. I don't think so, but I did notice something at the top here, so I'm a little bit worried about that too. So I'm going to probably slide some heat shrink down over that. So it, as you can see right here, is kind of like real frayed right there. So I'm going to slide heat shrink down in through this hole, make sure we don't have anything shorting inside there. So that's kind of my plan. The rest of that inside there, up in that hole, the rest of that looks pretty good. So I think if I just get this top fixed, we'll be good. I'm going to come out so far right here, and then I'm going to cut the wires, and I'm going to put new wires from here on out, and that'll solve all this problem we got going on here. First thing I got to do is free this plug up though, and so I got my soldering iron heating up, and hopefully I can pull these parts out one at a time here, and then I'll mark these so we know exactly how to put it back together too, because we don't want to take a bunch of stuff apart and not know how to put it back together. You want to mark everything and correct everything that you need to correct as you're going. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is what you should do is find some way just for you to remember what goes to what. So I don't know if you can see, but I had it marked here. I did it, I think, in a previous video. But I have 3 pins that are going into this, 3 wires that are going into this. And I have a green, I have a G right here for green, I have a Y for yellow, and I have a S for the striped, because that's this striped one right here. Okay, so we've already got that marked, but that's what you would do, is you would take a thing and mark that. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up, and you just want to grab you a pair of pliers and get a hold of the wire underneath here. I'm going to pull this green one first, and then you want to heat right at the end of this pin. That looks like a solid pin, but that's actually solder right there. And so you want to get that thing real hot, and you should be able to go down inside there with that as soon as you get that old solder to wake up. And I don't know if I got my soldering out. Yeah, it's good. It's hot now. All right, so we're going to try to heat this up long enough for me to get this pulled out of here. Now that is a heavy chunk of metal right there, so sometimes it takes a minute. And you can, when you're doing these soldering like this, and like I say, it doesn't hurt to throw a little bit of new solder on there to try to wake that thing up. I think I'm going to do that, because this thing don't want to wake up. All right, so let's put a little bit of new solder on the end there. Try to get this solder softened up a little bit first. All right, there, I got it to stick, so I'm going to grab back a hold of that now. And what I'm going to do is I'm right up against the frame. I'm going to twist this when I think I got it loose enough. But, and that once you start moving that wire, it'll all come loose on you. Okay. And all I'm doing is putting a twist on my pliers. And what that does is it pulls down on your wire. And you're just going to rotate that wire right out of there. Now I got it away from the end a little bit. I can get my soldering iron down in there. Okay, you saw my soldering iron drop down in. So we should be almost free underneath here. And what happened was is my coating came off. I was pulling on the coating and it came off, but that's okay. We're putting new wire anyway. All right, I should be almost out. Just try to stay in frame there, John. All right, I got that one out. Now, before I start on this next one, I learned my lesson, so I'm gonna put a little, because this solder is real old and does not want to wake up, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this on there. And I hope you saw on that one what I did is I just grabbed it right up against the flush and then I just turn it and rotate it right out of there. Now, if you were replacing that wire with the same wire, you'd probably want a different technique, but since I know I'm not putting this wire back in, it don't matter. And if I hurt the wire or not, but there's other ways of doing this. I could mount it in that third hand and do that, but see how easy that, I'm sorry, I wasn't in the camera. See how I just pulled that right out of there. All right, we got one more coming out. Okay, I have my green, my yellow, and then my striped. And my stripe's my last one. The green and the yellow goes to the big pins, and the stripe goes to the smaller pin on the right side. Well, the left side if you're looking at it from the top. All right, and what I do too ahead of time is go ahead and get as much of this out of there as I can so you have all that out of the way. That way you're not fighting that, putting that pin back in. So that's why I'm going back down these tubes right here and knocking that solder out so you can see all the way through. That way you can slide your new wire up in there real easy. All right, I can see light all through the thing. So I'm gonna get a hold of this last wire and we'll put that on next. And I didn't pre-tin it. Okay. This thing needed this really bad anyway, so all right. I'm going to show you something so you don't get in trouble on this too. All right, I got everybody pulled out of there. I got my plug emptied out. I can see holes all the way through 3 of them, so we're ready to put a wire. We can put a wire right back through there. That one's ready. The next thing you want to do is slide this off. But the other thing we want to do before we go too far with this was my one that was green. But because if you get on down here, the green has almost turned into yellow, so you look like you're going to have 2 yellows. So we don't want to get confused, so we're going to tape one of these, mark it with G for green, so that way we know which one was our green, and that way we can tell on the wire. But we're going to trace it back to here where we're going to cut it at, and I'll put the tape right there. That way I know which one has to come out as green. Because sometimes these wires fade out and they don't hold that color. And like down here, they both look yellow. And a striped one's pretty easy because it's striped, and you can tell that one pretty easy. But this stuff here, you can't. And I can see why it was shortened out. There's bare wire up underneath all this. All right, so we're going to cut this little string. Back in the day, that's how they wire wrapped that thing, so it's pretty cool. All right, this one right here is my green one. All right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this wire back. I'm going to go back to where I'm going to cut it at. And we're knowing this is our green wire, okay? And if you really look close up here, it is a little darker color than that right there. But that was originally green wire. So now I'm going to cut that wire back here. And this is where I'm going to put my connection in. And when I pull that out, we're going to put a piece of tape on there and put G for green, all right? We want to keep that other wire on hand because we want to measure our length of our new wire, so we want to make sure, and now I'm going to make it just a tad longer so we have a little bit of room to move. So I'm going to do that. But before I do that, I got to slide that heat shrink tubing down over there, because I want to run heat shrink tubing down in there so these don't short out each other where they go through that speaker. And so I'm going to slide a piece down into that hole. Make sure everything is safe. Maybe I am. That's a smaller hole than it looked like. And I do see a bare wire there, so that's why that thing was popping and cracking in there too. I don't know if you remember me wiggling that end right there and it was making a funny noise. Well, that's because it has a bare wire right there. Okay, I got that piece in, and you want to, I'm not in there. Dang it, sorry guys. I got that slid down in that hole, and I want to go ahead and shrink it so I can get the other ones in there. So I'll go ahead and do that one, get it shrunk down. All right, so I put a little heat to that sucker, and then we'll put our little tape on here that says G for green. Okay. All right, I'm not marked the other ones because I know the other one's yellow and the other one's striped, so that makes it easy. So now I'm just going to cut these off the same length and get my heat shrink on them. Okay. All right, then I'm going to slide this other plug off and not forget to put that other side on, because we got to have that where it mounts up to the other one. All right, so we got our length now right there, and we're going to get our rest of our heat shrink pushed up in here to make this nice and safe and secure. Yeah, I see bare wire right there where it goes through. There's bare wire right there where it goes through, so that was part of the problem with it's popping and cracking there. Was that. I just got to get this piece of heat shrink slid past that bare part. Okay, there's that one. Just got to get one more in there. Hopefully I can get a last piece of heat shrink in there. All right, let's try to get this third piece in. All right, I'm trying not to, there's a little rubber washer right here and it's trying to push down in there, and I don't want that, because that's what's protecting us a little bit from, so I'm trying to hold against that. Whoops, we don't want to do that either. I think I'm going to let well enough alone there. I think heating that shrink tubing up kind of heated up that old rubber on that washer there too. All right, well, you sure can smell it. Okay, I got a little piece of stuff and melted that paint a little bit. Okay, try out my new hand benching wire strippers and see how well they work. Oh my goodness, works like a new one. Oh, it is. I've been due for one of these for a while. All right, and when you're dealing with this old wire right here, I don't know if I can go back anymore or not. When you're dealing with this old wire, you want to make sure you put a little bit of this flux on. And to my guy that recommended the other flux, I just haven't bought any yet. I will get it soon, but I'll try that on one of these videos soon. But it might be a little bit yet. I haven't ignored you. I will try it. I've got that written down, and so I know what to get. Matter of fact, I got it saved on my eBay. Let me get my fan going here. I don't have my fan going. Shame on me, right? Whoops! Didn't mean to hit the camera, rookie. Okay. Now we'll try to get this ready. All right, through the miracle video, that's all tinned up now. You see how pretty and shiny they are. Next thing I'm doing is I'm lining my cords that I cut off of here, and I'm lining them up, and I'm going to make my cord, my cable, or my wire a little bit longer, just so I can have a little bit more length on my speaker. Not much, just a little bit more. And I got the hiccups right in the middle of this video. I got the hiccups. Great. All right. And I'll get this tinned up. I gotta find I can't find my jig. Oh, here it is. Find my jig to do all the tinning. I'm gonna set him back in the shot here. Back this up a little bit. Set him in the shot here so we can get this thing. Oh, I can't believe how good that new crimpers are nice. Okay, this is my green wire, and I'll get it tinned up first. And then this is the other end of it. All right, get it ready, and I'm gonna do the next one is the yellow wire, so I'll just use the same length of wire. All right, so I got my yellow wire here, and I'm just judging it up against the green. If you don't buy these crimpers, you're crazy. They think these things work great. I think he said on that video, he did a demonstration on my hamvention video, and I think he said $25 a piece. And it is veteran-owned company, and you know I like supporting the veterans anyway. It's American. All right, and then for the striped, we're going to just pick a different color that we don't normally use. I'm going to put gray for the striped ones. Okay, so gray's coming in. I'm just pulling the gray out here and getting the wire length using my green wire again. And get it trimmed up. Now we will have all three wires ready to go. I think this thing is the best piece of equipment I've had, or I didn't buy it, it was given to me by one of the viewers, but it's the best piece of equipment I've had in a while. And I'm so glad you turned me on to that. Okay, next thing we'll do is we're gonna get these wires connected to our three wires here, okay? And so I'm going to use the J-hook method, so I'll be J-hooking these in. All right, trying to do a J-hook here and a J-hook here. Now you can do a twist method, or there's several other ways you can connect these. I don't really care how you do it. I just like this method. It seems to hold pretty good. I've never had one come back. As long as you get a good solder on it. You don't want to walk away and not have a good solder on it. Okay. You want to be careful when you're crimping the old wire onto the new wire. When you squeeze that old wire together, I don't know why, there's sharp edges, and those sharp edges will cut your new wire right in two. All right, you want to make sure both sides are soldered shut. And nothing is sticking up in the air, because you're going to be sliding your shrink tubing over the top of that. we'll do that in a minute. All right, so the next one is our green wire. Okay, and once I get that on there, we can take that little tag off because we already know it's green because we made it green. All right. Okay, we got that slid on. Hopefully our speaker will not short out again once we get this done. Because that was one of the things, big time things that was interfering with our test on the IT12 is this. I mean, if you just breathed on it, it shorted out and it shot amps up and made the speaker want to smoke. So I don't want that happening. These speakers are too valuable to try to burn them up. And so where that folds together, you want to make sure you definitely got that soldered across. This side will solder real fast, but the other side won't. And sometimes you might have to hit it with a little bit of flux. But you want to make sure you got that connection made. And I just got it. Finally just jumped across there. And the last one is our yellow one. Okay, see, I see another bad spot right there. So I'm gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna put a piece of heat shrink over that too. So we don't want any more bad spots. And it doesn't hurt to just throw that on there. Wish I'd have saw that before I crimped that over, but oh well. I'm just gonna run it up onto our other piece there. That way we got good solid connection. Nothing's gonna mess up on this. It makes me think that I might want to do that on all three of these. All right, I'm gonna pull that off out of my way. I think I'm just gonna do that. It's worth, because that way if somebody bends one of these other wires, because they look pretty brittle, that way we'll have good solid connection. We won't have to worry about any of that doing that again. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, one more. When I was at the ham bench and I bought me a bunch of this heat shrink tubing, they had a big old bundle like that, and then they're long. You can cut them in these little pieces. $3 a bundle, so you couldn't beat that. I bought a lot of little things like that, just things that will help me in my day-to-day. Okay. Now we got a little bit of an issue here I'm going to fix real quick. It's just the coating on here is all screwed up from my soldering gun. There we go. And then when I put my heat shrink tubing over the top of this splice, I'll overlap that one too, and that way we have a good strong connection right there. Okay. All right, let me get this last one hooked on. Now some people are into braiding, and I'm okay with that, but I don't do that with mine. I just rotate them. So we're going to roll this up, and that way you don't have any outside interference come in with it. It cancels itself out basically. They spiral those. And we're going to do the same thing. I might as well just put some of that stuff on there right now. Okay. You see the solder move right there? That's how you can tell when you're finally getting a connection, because it'll move on you. Okay, I'm gonna make sure everybody's connected back here. That one looks like it could use just a little more solder right there. That was the one that was giving me a fit before. Okay, now I'm just gonna squeeze, make sure there's nothing sticking out on these. I think this one needs just a little bit more too. I got the little connector that holds the camera, and I'm gonna have to rethink this because it comes right where my solder runs, and it keeps catching the solder. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I flipped solder on my speaker. I thought I wasn't over the top of that, but I guess I am. There, we finally got it. All right. Next thing we're doing is taking 3 of these heat shrink tubings, and we're going to slide them all the way up the line again. Okay, and we're going to go over everything. Oh wait, I didn't know I had a piece hanging down here. Hold on. Got that coming off. And I just got to go over the top of all that. Go ahead and get all these put on at once. And now we've got a new cable going out to the pins. Everything's set up to do that. Okay, make sure you get that over the top of that other one just a little bit. Okay. All right, let's heat these up. Okay, that part is done. We got the splice made. Now we want to what I do is just kind of rotate these like this, and we can rotate that all the way up. This is how I do it. I don't know if it's the right way, but it's how John does it. I'm not going to do too much rotating up in there because of all that breakage and stuff. I don't want to wiggle that too much. But this part that's going out to the plug is going to get rotated. Okay. I'm off camera rotating here, sorry. This is stuff I got to start thinking about. I just don't think about it. I'm so used to working in here all these years alone and nobody watching. So, all right. You want to get the bends out of it. All right, so temporarily, you can stick anything on there, or temporarily, I'm going to put this plug back on that way, and then I'm going to tape this in just long enough for me to get everything put back together. So I'm just going to slide that up on there like that, okay? And yeah, there's that. All right. All right, then all I do is just put a little bit of tape on here just to keep that from unwinding on me. Just enough to do that, and we'll take that off here in just a little bit. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, we got this in place. Make sure you're facing the right way, and then this is gonna be facing the other way, and we want to stick these down in these plugs that we emptied out. We have 2 bigger plugs and 2 smaller plugs. Okay, so the 2 bigger plugs is where I had the 2 yellow and green wires, and this one says yellow. You probably can't see it on the camera, but there is a Y somewhere on there, right there. Okay, so we're gonna put the yellow one up in that hole, and all you do is just stick it up in that hole. Make sure you get the vinyl covering up in there, and make sure this sticks out a little bit past the end of that. Okay, and then we're gonna put this back in our little holder, and I'm gonna slide this back now. And we'll put this on our holder, and we're going to try to hold it to where it's upright. I hope I can do that. That's my plan. Okay, so we got that in the holder. We're going to hold it upright. Make sure you're sticking out just a little bit past that end, okay? Now we're just going to fill that tube full of solder, okay? So here's what we're going to do is we're going to fill that tube full of solder. Let that solder just drip down in there. try not to get it on the outside of the tube. Keep your thing inside and don't let it run down the outside, because that creates another issue that you don't want. And I'll probably do it on camera. I'm sure I'll drop it down the tube or on the side of the tube, because that's my luck. But you don't want to. I'm just telling you what not to do. Don't do like John. All right, and you can look in there and it's still sucking it down in, so I want to keep going a little bit more. Okay, and now you can get it to where it's kind of holding it. All right, then you want to cut this flush. Okay, gotta get the tape off my thing. You want to cut it flush like that. And matter of fact, if you get down in there just a little bit, that'd be good too. All right, now we're going to go ahead and solder the tip of that pin like that. You get a nice little round tip. I'll bring it into the camera better so you can see. I got a nice pin on there now. All right, let's see if we're going to let it cool for a minute, because this gets really hot, so you don't pull on them yet. But in a minute, we're going to pull on it, make sure it's connected in there good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is get the green one in, and I'm looking at the little thing on the top says G for green. It's going up in there. I'm taking it off the marker just long enough for me to get this pushed up in there. And I don't know if I made my hole big enough. Did I? Let me clean this hole out a little bit. I didn't make this big enough down through there. Because you got to be able to push it in there past where it gets out through. That way you know you got a good connection all the way to the top. And something ain't right here either. Let me get this straight too. I think I got a big glob of solder on the end of this is my problem. And while I'm at it, I might as well just go ahead and pull a little bit more of this back, so that way I know I can get enough through there. I don't think I made it long enough, so I just cut a little bit more of that off. I just had to re-tin that. You got to make sure you got enough to slide it all the way through until you get your vinyl, or your rubber part of your wire or vinyl, let's say. You got to get enough to get that all the way through there. Make sure I'm on the green one. Get back over here. It's this one. Okay. All right. And I got another blob of solder on the end. Get back on the green again. Trying to get on the wrong hole again. Okay, I do still have a glob of solder in the way. Goodness gracious. If you ever have this problem, you can also take your little tool right here and push all that out of there, but there was a glob of solder still sticking in there, wouldn't let me through. There we go. Now we're all the way through the top. All right, we're going to lock back in on our connector here. Our little holder, and you can see it sticking through the top now, okay? All right, let's fill our tube full of solder. Okay. Try to keep your thing straight in the middle like that. That way it don't drain down the outside, it drains down the inside. And I'm just feeding a little solder to it, and I can see it sucking it in there, so just let it go until you kind of see it reach the top. And your vinyl at the bottom is going to hopefully stop it from running out the bottom. Okay, I got it there. Now I'm going to cut the end of it off again. Okay, and then we'll put our top on it. There's pin number 2. Pin number 2 is put back together. Now we're going to get the last pin in there, okay? And that's pin number 3. All right, this is going to the stripe side, and we're going to make sure we're in the right spot on that one. That'd be this pin right here. Okay, and see if I got enough room to get, oh, there's a wire bent back on that one. I didn't get the end of that soldered right. Hold on just a minute. Okay, now we're going back up in this hole. I may have to cut that little angle on there too. This is a smaller hole because it's a smaller pin, so it's going to make it a little more fun. But we'll get it. Okay, my thing is definitely not long enough here, so I got to cut a little bit more of this off, and then I'll redo the redo that. I'm going to re-tin it. You have to have enough to get it all the way through there. Okay, let's try that again. And here we have the same deal where I got solder stuck down in there. So this time, because it's smaller, I am gonna heat this up and run my other thing through here. So I think that might be enough to do it. And it is. That brought me where I poked my dental tool through there, and it gave me enough room to get that through. All right, we're going to fill our hole. Keeping this straight up and down. That way it don't run down the outside of the pen. It sucks it right down there. See, I had a little piece running right down the side there, and you have to try to sand that off when you're done here. Okay, so now I can cut that one. All right, and then I'm gonna put my little cap on the top, and that should take care of that. Now we want to get anything that is wrong on there, we got to fix. So this one definitely has a, well, it's fighting me. Stay on there, little feller. It does have a big bowl of solder right here. I got to get off the side of it because you won't be able to plug your pin in if you leave that on there. But any of the residual loose stuff, if it has trouble going in, you just take a little bit of sandpaper and you sand it off the side. All right, now we can take this off. That was just to kind of hold everybody in place till you got it. All right. All right, let's get this straight because we want that to come through here. And last step of this is trying to get these two married together. And since it was riveted, we're going to have to put screws in here. And hopefully I can find a flat-headed enough screw to be able to do what we need to do. So I'll get the rest of this straightened up here in a minute. But I'm just trying to get this where I can get that through. All right. And I got the two sides married together. And so now I'm just going to find me a little screw to go through there to work. All right, I had to break into this little screw pack and get a little longer and a little smaller one too. So that has a lower profile on the head, and that'll allow these pins to seat on in there really good. All right, let me get this other one started. I got one on that side started. Now we'll get this other side started. Move that back out of the way and keep this in the frame. All right. I'm putting the head part in here because that way you don't want nothing sticking up because it keeps your pins offset. So I put that in there, and that way it'll hold that closer to where you can plug it in and get a good connection. All right, so I'm putting this threaded onto there, and then I just get my little Phillips screwdriver and make sure I'm good and straight, and then tighten that down. It should hold it enough. If not, I'll grab it with a nut driver too, or a adjustable. I'll do that. Okay. Probably have to switch over to flat tip on this. You can do flat or Phillips on it, but that Phillips is not good. Okay, that one went well. Now I just got to get this other side. I know some of you guys scream at your TVs Thinking, John, go get a nut driver. I'm just trying to save from having to do that. They don't make the screw, like in the old days you could turn this screw and you wouldn't worry about a head stripping out, but nowadays you have to worry about that stuff. Okay, I got my yellow wire just a tad long. It's going to have a little bit of a bobble. I can take most of that out by pulling it back here a little bit. But anyway, that's not too bad. All right. And I could have left another piece of heat shrink tubing to put right here to kind of stabilize that. I probably should have, but I'm not going to undo it now. All right, here's your plug. Everything looks really good. It's ready to plug back in. And hopefully that'll take care of our speaker problem. That's one problem down. We got the other problem we got to work with, and we're going to go to that next. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I'm sure going to try to show you. I'm going to try to get in here as tight as I can. Get some light on this thing. I keep hitting the camera, and I'm so sorry, okay? I'm trying to see what you're seeing, but I can't hardly because of the stupid frame being in there wrong. All right. You see these little dark spots? There's a dark spot right there. They're all down through here. Well, what that is this is just a piece of metal that this thing has got a wire, and the wire is circling around that. It's just one continual length of wire from here all the way around to here. Well, what it is all this wire right here is damaged. And as you can see, I can get rid of some of those gaps by sliding some of this over. And it probably didn't help it too much when I was sanding on it, because I was just lightly hitting it, but it might have been enough to move those over a little bit too. So I'm trying to move them back in where at least close to each other, because where we have a big gap at, it's losing the volume control totally. It like goes totally away when it hits that one of those empty spots. So that spot up here on top had almost no wire there, and now I'm trying to push wires into where it's supposed to be, because they were all pushed back that way. And so I'm trying to get them pushed back out to where they have some kind of connection with this thing as it passes over. Now what I don't know, because if I can move them this easy, just passing that thing over is probably moving them around. And I'm trying to be real soft with this, because you don't want to break the connection from this end of the wire to that end of the wire, because then you just destroy your volume control. You want to make sure you have continuity all the way through there. All right. So what we're going to do is try to make sure that we have continuity from the top end of this to the bottom end. And that's my plan next, is I'm going to try to get that set up and show you that. But I still got a pretty good sized gap right there that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's fused together or what, but this right here don't want to slide back in place where it was. It was all shoved that way. And I've got a lot of it put back together. There's still a few gaps, right there's a big one. And I'm trying to just slide those little wires closer to each other. And that way you don't have any big gaps, you just have little gaps. You might have a split-second interruption in the volume during that time. But hopefully maybe some of this will take care of that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just put a little bit of something on there on this top end and try to get the rest of that rust, because it's caked with rust on top there. And I'm going to try to get a little bit of that off too, but that's part of my plan on this one too. I'm just trying to get this rest of this gap, but there's a big gap right here, and I'm trying to get that thing closed up. This is on that spot where we totally lose our volume. And I don't know if we've already got a short there or something, as far as an open area that might already be an issue. So, all right, give me a second here. I'm going to try to get this set up, and then I'll come right back. All right, I got this set up to where I'm testing the volume control, and I already noticed something. Right here, if you can see, I don't know if you can see because I got a cap underneath here right now, but let me tip it back in. Right here, you still got this part of the volume control here, but this part of the volume control is not working at all. When I hold on to that, I'm right there is where I'm starting to get ohms, but Okay, if I can get my hand back under here, I have to put that cap underneath there to get my hand under. Try it. I just need something smaller. Hold on, just gonna put my screwdriver under there. Maybe that'll help. I want it tipped enough where you can see it. Okay, so what I'm doing right here, I'm gonna show you where it about comes. It drops out right there. So I got about what, 3/4 of an inch of winding that is not getting anything. So my thing shorts out right there, and there's nothing wrong with this coil right here. I mean, I can't see anything even damaged on that part of the coil, but for whatever reason, I'm losing my volume. The good news is that's way down on the bottom end on the volume control. So I think maybe that's where I'm losing on the top. Okay, but this end right here is working really good now. I got it. It looks like it's going to be doing good. So this might be my problem on this end. And now I look at this. I'm looking at this backwards. Yeah. So that's where I'm losing on the top end. All right. So I'm going to tip this up here. I'm just going to see if we can figure this out. We'll figure out why we're losing the top end of this, not the bottom. All right. So my mind was thinking backwards. I keep dropping things if you guys wonder. All right, let's get some light on the subject and get the camera up here. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. Maybe I can get a different shot on this and a better one. All right, I'm gonna bend you up. I probably should do this. Hold on. Get this off camera. This kind of stuff I need to do off camera and I don't think about it. Okay, maybe we can get a really good shot here. You can see the wires going around there. And you can see how easy it is to move these. Whoops. You can see, like, if I go in here and you can see where you got a little bit of gap right there, I can slide them wires over and handle that gap. But for some reason, our wires are shorting out right there. Well, first we're going to try the easy approach, because I was working on the top end up here. Let me back it out just a little bit more now. I was working up on this top end, thinking that was my high end of my volume control, but actually my high end's down here. So I was working up here because this is what looked the worst. So let's spray down in here. I wasn't really spraying down in here, so maybe I can get a connection just by cleaning that a little bit. So let's try that, see if I can get me a connection. Let me go ahead and get another clip lead hooked on here. That way I don't have to hang on to that. Now there's two volume control. I don't know if I pointed that out or not. There's another one deep inside here. This one you're seeing, but there's another one. I don't know if you can see it on this angle. But there's a shorter one that's a smaller right there. That right there is a whole nother one. That winding seems to be doing really good. But so that's why you got two on each side. You got one here and one here on each of those in the top and the bottom. So you got to make sure if you connect to the top here, you connect to the top here, and that way you're getting your right reading. All right, so now maybe we can rotate this volume control and see if we can get any of this coming to life. Yeah, there's definitely, after you get to about right, let's see where they drops out right there. So let's see if there's anything wrong right in that area. Maybe we'll be able to find something in there. Okay, so right here is where I lose my volume control. Right there. So what would be causing that thing to short out? Is it shorting out to the other one? I don't know. I see nothing wrong with that. I'm just barely touching this, guys. I'm not rubbing hard or anything. I'm feeling for any kind of loose wire right there. Because it's almost like it ends right there. I see no rust on that. That's why I suspected this up here, because it's got a lot of rust on it, but that part's working. I see nothing that would keep that thing from having continuity all the way to there. Just for the fun of it, I'm just going to tap this in a few places with my And see, now I'm getting continuity there if I do it straight on the wire. So do I have something wrong? Well, even then, I don't know. That is incredible. All right, so we do have some connection there. It's not a broken wire now. I hope you understand what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here is making sure that I'm still connected here, and then where I'm connecting on here, I'm just tapping in on the wire. And because this is not a coated wire, so I can tap anywhere along here, and I'm getting a reading all the way through there. But when I turn it on this thing, that means the connection between this and that is not working. And now I will get this connected back on. I'm going to try it again. And guess what, guys? Just that last little spray that I did, it woke it all the way up. We have a volume control from top to bottom now. So there must have been something underneath there that was stopping that from making that connection. Because it's a very good volume control all the way up. It's going up to, it's a 5K. So, and it's going down to 14 ohms. So we have brought our volume control back to life. I'm excited. Now, how are we going to keep it safe in there? And I got to put this thing back in here because this is a stop for that. So when you bring that back around, it stops it. So I'm going to push this back down now that I know that that's my issue. And that little, I don't know, are you in the shot? I bent this thing back in here because what that does is it catches that little hook right there, and that stops your volume control right there so you don't go past where you're supposed to go. Yeah, we got a working volume control now. Yay! All right, what I think I'm going to do, and I won't do it on this video today, but I think I'm going to put a piece of phenolic material over here. I had one of our collectors brought me some phenolic material, and I'm just going to probably glue a piece onto here, like tack glue it into a couple places, and that'll just keep all the dust and debris out of there. I'm gonna cut a little circle out of that stuff, and I'm gonna mount it onto there, and that way I know that we won't get a bunch of dirt debris back up in that hole, because obviously there was something that, because I had continuity here, I knew that I had something wrong underneath here, and that's why I sprayed underneath that time. Now we took that tool and we went up underneath there, so I don't know why I didn't get it first time, but it's something I just knocked out of there that worked. And now we got good connection all the way around, and there's hardly any where it jumps out like on those gaps. I got the gaps spread apart enough to where you don't have big bunch of wide gaps. And so we got us a Philco volume control working now. So thank you. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to end this video here. I will start on the cabinet on the rest of this video, and hopefully we can get a lot of that cabinet done on this video too, because I would sure like to start doing some cabinet stripping on the next video. That would be awesome if we could get that done, and that's my plan. All right, I hope you enjoyed this so far. All right, I'm going to start today's video. I thank you guys for coming on board. We're going to get this thing prepped right here where we put that patch in last week. We're going to get that all cleaned off now. My way of doing it is I use a sander because I put thicker veneer here. So I sand on this veneer. I don't sand on this veneer. I will do a light sand, but it'll be like very light, like the weight of the sander after we get done stripping. But right now I'm just going to sand this down to where it's flush with that, and that'll help seal that line in. The other thing I'm going to do is take a knife, and I'll be cutting this off, and you'll get to see that. Now I'm going to get I don't have my wireless mic hooked on here too, so I'm going to get that hooked up. I get a couple more things ready. I'm going to also clean this thing up and get it put back on. That's why I got those tools sitting there. All right, give me a minute. I'll get my wireless mic going. All right, here we are. I'm going to get my knife, and I'm going to try to cut this edge back a little bit so it's easier to sand. If you wonder what I'm using on this, I use on my hand sanding on the back edge right here, I use 80 grit. On the sander itself, I use a 120, and that seems to be pretty good for what you're doing on this kind of project. So all I'm gonna do is just hang this over a little bit. I'm gonna push down. I'm gonna scar this so I don't break it into the itself in there. Okay. And the rest of it I can sand off. I just want to get as much as I can off so I don't have to sand all that. And you'll see it start snapping off here. I just didn't want it to, when you scar it, it won't snap into the radio itself where you already glued it on. And you can even break that down once you get it going. It's kind of like breaking drywall. Okay. Of course, a lot of people may not have drywall before. My dad, I know I told you he was a minister, and he was, but he did contracting on the side because you don't make a lot of money being a preacher. He worked over at, he did a lot of side work too, but he worked, his main thing was at Ball State University. He did maintenance contracting for them, a lot of the woodworking stuff. Him and I did a lot of those roofs, the slate roofs over there. As a kid, I remember climbing up on those. Even out here, I got the dropsies. Now see, this way I can take that 80 grit and I can put it at a 45-degree angle on that edge. And I can run, I'll make sure you guys are in the shot. Hey, you're there. I'm gonna run that 80 grit 45 degrees. That way I'm not pushing that up, I'm pushing it down into that. That way I don't undo whatever I had glued. But I let this set for a week, so we should be good. Oh, I'm trying to get into my label. I didn't know I was down that far. Don't want to do that. When I do my final sanding, I'll sand all the way around this, make sure it's nice and smooth right there. I'm just getting it back flush, so when we're coming on, you don't hit that and bump that up and undo your veneer that you just put on there. A little bit of about a 45 degree on that though. Okay, so that's all back flush with the edge of that now. And next thing I do is I just sand on this. I'm sanding into that. Okay, so there's my next thing. The other thing you don't want to do is 45 this sander here, because that'll mess your veneer up. So you want to make sure you don't, you gotta keep it tipped forward. As you see it getting into the other veneer, you want to stop on that. I found another problem. I found a place right here that still needs to be glued, so we're going to be careful. All right, I'm gonna set this down and show you. This is what you should see. I got one little spot right there that I have a little gap in, but overall, you should see a nice solid line right there with no gaps. That came out good. That came out good. I got one little black line right there on my hand to take that out. But I'll wait until after stripping gets done. I got a little bit of loose veneer over here I saw, and I'm going to try to run that thing up underneath there and get that glued down. I'll do that off camera. Overall, though, that patch is done. So the next thing we're going to do is work on this. And if you saw me sanding on the back here, it's because there were glue runs off the back there. And I didn't want any glue runs hanging, showing when we get back here. There's still some over here on when they did the original. I'll be sanding that off too. Next thing I want to do is I want to get this ready. So I'll make sure you're in the shot here. I'll tip that on down now. And I'm going to set this in here. There's a nail sticking through. So I want to knock that nail back out. And that nail ain't coming out. So next thing I'm going to do is pop that nail off. I'm not going to try to pound it through the front now that I look at it. So I'm going to try to see if I can just get it broke off back here. And there we go. We want to make that smooth so we can get, when we glue this back on, it's not going to be like up in the air and looking bad. So next thing I'm doing, I don't know if you're in that, am I in that shot right here? Do it in here. I'm going to take my chisel and go down through there just flat, keeping it flat, and knock all that old glue off of there. And make it land flat when you put that back on. There's a ton of old glue on this. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of your wood with you. As long as you keep it on the inside, you're okay. That way glue can fill that void. Okay, that's what I'm doing, is I'm just cleaning that glue off. Looks like somebody tried to patch this before, because I see newer glue on here too. All the black spots you see right here are glue, so I'm trying to get those. Because we want that to be able to fit flush against the cabinet. Before it wouldn't. Now while we got that, I got that pretty good. I got a hand sand a little bit, but it's pretty good. Now I want to look at the outside where that's going to go. Let's make sure there's no glue left on that. See where there's a, let me get up here where you can see. I got glue all along here too. And the other problem you got is the veneer that was covering that, a lot of that's gone. So I'm just going to leave that off, and I'm going to just go up against it. That way I can fit more flush down to it, and that way if there's any obstructions or whatever. So I'm just going to take that other little piece of veneer out. Whoop, that wasn't supposed to happen though. I got to fix that. I thought I'd made my cut there and I didn't. All right, give me a minute. All right, I got that little piece I knocked out glued back in, so hope to God I can get that base back on without hurting anymore. What I'm doing here is just making out where I know that I can get the that side piece back on there. I'm going to try to overlap it on this veneer just a little bit. That's my plan. Before I do that though, I'm going to run that side glue up underneath there. I'm going to try to do it all in one shot. Get this 45 cleaned off because it's got stuff there. I want all this back on there before I strip it. All right. The last thing I'm going to do, I don't know if you can see in this shot, but I'm sporting my hat that I got. It was a free hat I got when I went to the Hamvention. It's a Yesu hat, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, let's put a little bit of glue on this. I'll put a little bit of glue on this plastic piece. Try to run up under this edge, make sure this edge is sealed down good. I saw some loose places. That way when I put this piece on, it's gonna hold it pretty good. We won't have stuff coming apart on us. Nothing I hate worse than having veneer come loose here. Okay. Now we got glue up under there. Let's test fit our piece. Now I got a hand sand a little bit, I know. But that looks pretty decent, man. All right. If I can go up a little bit, I'm kind of cheat up a little bit on this backside. That way I can catch that edge of that veneer and it'll make that set good. All right, now I'm going to find me a couple nails and I'm going to try to nail that back into place. Before I do that, it's got a little bit of a gap out front here, so I'm going to sand a little bit to the back here, and that way it'll force that toe, the nose of that thing, it'll force it more forward, and I think that'll fill that gap out there. It might bring the back end a little bit, but I don't really care about that. Basically, I'm just changing the angle of this right here. And I'm going to sand this down flush now. Let's fit this now and see what we got. Much better, but not enough. I'm going to take a little bit more off this end. See what that did for us. But I found a big old chunk of stuff keeping us off of there too. Yeah, it left us a little bit of a gap here on the back end, but I think it's worth it to get the gap sealed up front, and that's what it did. All right, I'll be right back. I gotta get my nails. Okay, I got a nail started in 3 different places on here, and hopefully they don't bend going in. Now we're gonna run our glue on here. And when we get this on here, then that's all gonna hold that little loose veneer on the bottom that I glued. I'm gonna put a good bead of glue if I can get it to come out right here. Make sure I got a good seal right there. And then run it all the way down. Especially catching this edge right here. We want it to ooze out on that edge because that way it'll seal that edge down really good for us. I was making sure my wireless mic was still on. I hate doing all this talking and showing you stuff and then all at once you're not even there. Okay, so I'm going to set this on here, make sure I'm good and lined up. I'm going to overlap that veneer just a little bit. I'm probably a little too far to the front there. If I remember right, I had about a yeah, that looks good up there now. If I can just get this thing to take, we got this without bending the nail like I just started right there. Just gotta get one of them in. Okay, get this guy in. They don't make nails like they used to. And this is some hard wood right here. That's why it's bending the nails. One more to get in here. And back here it's a little bit bouncy too. That doesn't help. You really don't have anything big and stable for it to go on. There went my glue. My dad used to get on me so much when I bend nails like that. Okay, now we want to get that glue that oozed out right here, and that'll make like a little seam right there for us too. But we want to get all that. It's kind of like putting caulk on the edge of that veneer now. And there's that. All right, so I still got to tap my nails on down in there. I'm going to have to find something to set them with. Give me a minute. I got to get a nail set or something. Okay, I did that off camera because it made me mad and I had to be good. But bottom line is we got those nails set. I ended up having, because I couldn't find my nail set anywhere, I used a large screwdriver and just was very careful not to slip. And I was able to get that pretty good. I feel like this part is good. I got that. I'm going to show you the front of it. See how I got that big gap all closed out right there? I don't know if you can see that in the camera. There's no gap in there anymore. I think once this thing glue seals up, we'll be good. I got most of my glue that oozed out zipped off here. I got that veneer caught on the bottom edge of that. So we are setting good on that piece right there. So I think we're good on the top. We're good on the sides. I got a little bit of work to do. I noticed after the fact that I got a few little issues going on with this right here, but when I start putting my stuff on here, I will hit that with a little bit of I will hit that little bit of glue and I'll get that fixed too. So all right, I'll be right back. All right, and the next spot we're going to hit is this corner up here, that corner right there. And I'm just going to try to, I'm not even going to try to draw a pattern or anything. I'm just going to try to manipulate. Our grain runs at an angle right here. So I'm just going to try to cut a piece of this off and see if I can match that grain. All I got to do is get the bottom straight of it and the rest of it should go into place. So I'm going to try to do that. Just eyeball it because it's just such a tiny piece and ain't worth really going through all the pattern material. And everything else seems to be on there pretty good. So I shouldn't have to worry about other than getting that corner up in there. Okay, other than getting the wrong angle here, I think I got it. So give me a minute. What I'm doing is just trying to cut a little piece that I can wedge in there. And I think I just about got it here. Got to take a little bit off this back end so it'll go in a little bit further. Other than that, I think I got it. That way I'll have the grain running the right way and everything. I gotta get my glasses on so I can see that I'm there. Okay, I gotta get a little bit more off this angle. Hope I don't break that little tip off, because that would be the problem that we would have. If I can just get the tip to glue in there, we would be in great shape. Just a little bit more. I keep messing with it, I'm going to end up breaking it. I'm happy with that. I just got to cut this big piece off the side now without messing anything else up. I'm probably not even in the camera shot. I ain't even thought about that. Trying to get everything in the camera shot, and I'm down here on the table trying to cut this and make it work. I think I just broke it. Depends on how much I need there. If I'm still within my range, I'm good, but yeah, I am. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to put this piece in. It's going to take a little bit of glue. I don't even think I'll have to clamp this one. It's just needing no pressure. You don't want to leave a lot of it hanging off, because when you try to cut that last little piece off, it's just going to pop it right back out of there. So I left my rag laying over here. I do want to get that glue off of there. I'm going to take this and push it down in there. Yeah, that actually worked. I'm shocked. All right, we got that piece fixed. I don't think there was one on this side. There's nothing here on the front. Got a little bit of sanding to do where I hung that over there, but that's easy to fix. I'll do that after we do the stripping. This side looks pretty good. I got a little bit of a gap right there, but it's strong and not moving anywhere, so I'm not going to mess with that. I just got this one more little chunk, and I think we got this cabinet ready for stripping. Let me move this back. We're just going to put one more little angle piece right in here. If I remember right, I already can't tell if I'm in your shot now or not. I'll turn this over this way a little bit. I better go make sure you're in the shot. Okay, you are. We're doing this little spot right up there, and then there's some gluing that needs to be done right there too. I'm just going up underneath here and getting all that glue up under there, because you don't want that stuff coming loose on you. I saw a little bit on this front side over here too. You want to make sure you get all that. Go back until you hit solid. Okay, get that off of there. Let me go get a clamp real quick. I don't see any other ones, but I did see another little chunk. Wait a minute, that right there needs a little bit too. Now, when you end up putting a finish on here too, it'll help glue anything else that you might have missed. That finish will hold just like glue. But you want to hold a hold until you can get that on there. Yeah, I found a whole piece right there loose. All right, I'm gonna get some more clamps now. I'm gonna do a real quick video. My battery is totally dead on this stupid phone, and it makes me mad. But I got that patch in, I got that patch in, and all that happened while my phone had died on me, and I didn't even know it. That patch is in right there, so everything's patched on this. I still need to do the front. There's one more little patch on that front that's sitting in here. I got to put one more little piece of veneer here and here. I'm just probably going to cut this whole thing out, put a whole piece right there, because your front cover's right here, but you still see this little piece right here. So I'm going to put a piece in there, and maybe, I don't know, we'll just see how well it adheres. But I gotta fill this little gap right here. But I'm going to call this video and be done. And that's all we got left to do on that. And I can tell you by now, next week we're going to start on the stripping. Like I say, there's a lot more I could say about this. There's different ways to strip, and I'll talk about that on the next video. My way is not technically the right way, but this is the way I'm doing mine. So, and of course we got to put those patches in next time too. We still got to finish this piece, and then we'll be able to, but I can start on the stripping on the other cabinet next week. All right, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We almost accomplished everything we were planning on doing, so hopefully we might still get into the stripping on the next video. We'll see. It's going to be real close. I might have to touch up on a few things before we do, but we probably get to see a little bit of the stripping on this next video. All right, make sure you guys tell your friends about this channel. You saw the videos this last week of the hamvention, the one on Sunday and the one on Tuesday. I had part 1 and part 2. The hamvention was really cool. I got to meet D-Lab. I physically almost ran into him. We were crossing each other's paths and didn't see each other. And you see a better shot. I didn't get a shot of him on there, and I wish I would have now, but I was trying to respect his space. You know, he was videoing, and I didn't want to mess up his video. So, but he did put me on his, and if you want to see it, it's on his part 2 video on day 2. He'll be wearing an orange shirt in that video, but he actually put me on there, and I'm at minute number 22 on that. So if you get time to watch, please do. Thank you. I just want to close out all my videos with this right here. This is my my motto, and it's going to be our channel motto from now on. It's sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. We don't ever want to lose. We want to learn from every mistake we made. I thank you guys for watching.